I would talk about diet. Diet has been the biggest impact on my health. When I look back at my health when I was first diagnosed to now, I think diet has been the most constant and constantly positive progression that I've had. And yeah, so I just thought I'd share a bit about it. The thing is with diet is that it is personal to each person, but at the same time there are things that you can, there are like things that apply to everyone. So about 5 years ago, I first went gluten and wheat free. I just was getting really bloated quite a lot and quite lethargic after eating. So I went to a dietitian and she did some tests and found that I was intolerant to quite a few different random things, but wheat and gluten were the main things. So I cut those out and did find that it made a big difference. But then when I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I obviously already knew some aspects of what effect food can have on you, but I had no idea how massive how massive an impact diet can have. So I found a diet called paleo diet. Some people call it caveman diet. And as with every diet, it gets a lot of negative as well as positive reviews, I suppose you would say. But I can't deny that it has had a massively positive impact on me. So when I used to eat food, when I used to eat meals or snacks, I would get really tired afterwards. So I could eat, say like a normal meal, so I could eat a jacket potato and chicken and veg, and I would literally need to nap afterwards. Like, it's like being smacked over the head. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. It's like you feel, obviously when you have chronic fatigue you're tired anyway, but then I would eat and then I would just feel rough. And obviously food is supposed to give you energy, it's supposed to kind of wake you up a bit, and I was just finding the complete opposite. So so I looked online, I spoke to someone I know who has fibromyalgia who had tried this paleo diet. And the thing is you can go really, really strict. So you can only buy grass-fed meat, you can only buy organic vegetables and fruit, and you can go really, really strict. But this is really expensive, and being a newly married couple, we don't have that much money, obviously with me not working either. So that was not really an option, but I applied the food groups, like the generalities, I applied the general aspects of paleo, and just kind of played around with what I found my body reacted to well. So straight away I noticed that if I was to have carbs, even if they were wheat free, so wheat free pasta, potato, anything like that, that was what like really knocked me out. So that was what really made me feel awful after eating. Whereas things like meat and fruit and veg, I didn't feel bad. Something else I noticed was sugar levels. So that's something that is in the news a lot at the moment. There's a TV program called Sugar Free Farm, and Jamie Oliver's done a load of stuff on sugar. And if you'd asked me a few years ago, I would have been like, oh, like, it's a load of rubbish, like, it doesn't matter. No, it really is really important to me now, and I see how much people rely on sugar rushes, and then when that sugar rush wears out, they have something else to keep it going, and that's why we end up kind of feeling like we need so much sugar and we need so much of this food that's not great for us, because we're constantly riding on that sugar rush. And this is something that you can do. Obviously people do it, like people go through the kind of constant ups and downs of having loads of energy and then having no energy. But when you have chronic fatigue, when you have fibromyalgia, obviously your body is so much more sensitive. So I was kind of going from feeling all right and doing loads of stuff to then suddenly, well, not I say loads of stuff, for someone with chronic fatigue, I would be able to kind of have a conversation and I'd feel all right, and then all of a sudden I would be like bedbound for a day. And honestly, sugar levels is basically what has changed that. Me limiting how much sugar I have, even natural sugars. So for a while, I came off things that are obviously sugary, like things like chocolate spread, stuff like that, like things that you kind of say, yeah, that's sugar. And I was having like loads of dried fruit instead, so loads of mango, and people were like, oh yeah, it's fine because it's natural sugar. And it obviously is a lot better for you than not natural sugar. But it's still, you're still getting that change in your body where all of a sudden you have kind of fake energy and then you have no energy. So this is not something that I see everyone should do. Like, I understand that everyone's lives are different and everyone's body reacts differently, but I am just telling you what personally I've found as a massive positive for my fibromyalgia and for my chronic fatigue, and that is trying to keep that natural level of energy. Kind of what you have is what you have, rather than kind of tricking your body that you have more energy than you actually do. So I have an ME specialist, and she kind of pointed out, and she was like, you know, if you're tired, you're still tired, your body is still tired, it's just like this facade that you get when you have loads of sugar. So then obviously when the sugar then wears out, you feel even worse. So yeah, that's a massive thing. I've cut out loads of sugar, and I still have like some natural sugars, so I still have like a small amount of dried fruit. I love sultanas at the moment, but they are really sugary, so you do have to be careful, even though it's natural sugar. And yeah, in a more general sense, like I said, I've cut out the potato, I've cut out carbs, and it's something that you need to research, because obviously your body needs certain things. So it's really important to take on the necessary fats that you need through other things like nuts and seeds and avocado. And I make sure that I have it sounds disgusting. Well, to some people it sounds disgusting. When you have like a fatty piece of meat, so a lot of people would kind of take the fat off, whereas I have that because I know that that is actually natural fat that my body needs, because I'm not getting it from other things, if that makes sense. So there is no way that I am saying I am a expert. I have a friend who's studying nutrition, and so she helps me out quite a bit. But yeah, I'm not an expert at all, but I am just saying that I've learnt to listen to the way that my body reacts to certain foods, and I have learnt the impact that certain foods have on your body. And because I am so much more aware of where my health is at and where my body is really at, rather than how I feel, I think I've seen a massive difference, and that is something that has made me passionate about other people seeing that, because I see people who kind of go through that up and downness of, you know, they kind of so like people who have a lot of coffee, people who rely on a lot of coffee. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but you're kind of riding on fake energy, if that makes sense. And yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to be riding on the energy that my body has, and at the moment my body doesn't have that much energy. But the more good things I put into it, so I have a lot of green smoothies, so I have a lot of kale, I have a lot of spinach, and I have a lot of like veg and avocados and those kind of things. I know that that is putting good stuff into my body, and that is going to be helpful to my body. And because my body isn't in a great shape because of the fibromyalgia and because of the chronic fatigue, that is a really important thing for me. And in some ways that helps me feel like I am controlling my illness as much as I can. So I know that even though I can't fix it, even though I can't get rid of it, actually I'm doing all I can. And I know that if I go out for pudding, so sometimes me and Will, my husband, will go out for pudding one night, and I will have I'll have dairy. I try not to have wheat because I know that is really detrimental to me. But say I go away from the paleo and I have a dairy dessert, I know that the next day my pain is going to be at that next level. It's going to have increased. But actually mentally that's easier to cope with because I know why. And I know that so depression is a key part of fibromyalgia, and I know that actually sometimes emotionally my health needs a boost rather than my physical health needing a boost. So say for an evening going out having a pudding with my husband, that is emotionally really beneficial for me, and I know that for the next 2 days I might physically have gone downhill, but actually emotionally I'll feel like I've had a good time. So it's all about balancing. That's what I found, really. It's all about balancing, and it's about you feeling like you are in control of what you're putting into your body. So if I make a decision to have a pudding, then I've made that decision, I know the repercussions, but I've made that decision, if that makes sense, and I, rather than having a meal feeling rubbish afterwards and not knowing why. So yeah, this has been quite a long video. I don't think they'll all be this long, but like I said, diet has been the most massive impact in my health, and I think anyone who has these types of illnesses who hasn't addressed their diet, like you're missing out, if that makes sense, because it does make such a massive impact. And like I said, I'm not an expert, but I personally have found that the paleo diet is helpful, or at least taking the general ideas of having more meat, more veg, more fruit, more nuts, more seeds, and less of the carbs, less of the white potato, less of the grains. That is what's been helpful for me. But I would just suggest that you research things, try things out, speak to your doctor, speak to a nutritionist, and just really kind of learn to listen to your body. So take note of what you're eating and how it makes you feel. If you eat a potato and then you feel really, really bad afterwards, it's probably not what you should be eating. Whereas if you have a green smoothie and all of a sudden you feel a lot better, I'm not saying like your symptoms will disappear. I'm saying that there's like you have a level of your symptoms, and if you suddenly like that drops and you have a really bad day, maybe that is to do with your diet, or you actually have a period of a week where you feel so much brighter, then maybe that's because of what you've eaten that week. So I hope this makes sense. I know it's quite rambly, but it's quite a hard thing because, like I said, I'm not an expert. I don't want to tell you what not and what to eat. I just want to share that diet is huge. Diet has a massive impact. It's something that I've become really passionate about, people understanding what they're putting into their body, and I just think that you guys, with these illnesses, with this fibro, with this chronic fatigue, something that you should definitely look into, because it could make a real difference if you can find out those foods that your body kind of just doesn't react that well to. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope that's helpful. Please comment if you have questions. But yeah, just get online, start Googling. Obviously not everything on the internet is reliable, so you need to kind of weigh things up, speak to your GP, speak to nutritionists. But yeah, just listen to your body and kind of take note of what it seems to react to well, what seems to increase the pain levels, what seems to increase the fatigue. And just like, I made a food diary. That was the best way for me to kind of work out, right, what foods are making me feel worse and what foods aren't. And yeah, take it from there. So I hope that's been helpful.